Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and I'm going to tell you today what you need to know if you're doing any diet, but especially if that diet is along the lines of if it fits your macros. Essentially, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't even seen anybody talk about on YouTube, and I don't even do the macro dieting anymore myself. I've switched to more low carb approaches, but I'm going to give you some tips so that regardless of whatever diet approach you like, you can be adequately prepared to make the right food choices. So, enjoy. So I got the inspiration for this video because first I had a conversation with somebody talking about ingredients in foods. And then I pulled up some Pringles containers, not gonna put Pringles under a bad light, great value, great value chips, and thought, you know what, I'll vet the non-nutritional ingredients and see what's in here so I can show people, okay? And first thing I want to say, because a lot of the internet likes to make it sound so that calories are the only thing that matter. Just get your protein and then just get calories. And although that is one way to put it, that's the equivalent of saying you got to work because you drove there. It doesn't tell you anything else about how the car works or how the car could work better that transported you there, or if you even took a car, right? So maybe you took the bus, who knows, right? All we know is that you got there. So saying calories are all that matter is a very vague way to put things, and it doesn't give people precision. And you need precision, and the reason a lot of people like yourself are coming to my page is because I like to explain things in a more precise way so that you can micromanage the little bits and eliminate the huge problems like the ones I'm about to get into. So, right off the bat, you can see that the calories and macros on this are basically 270 grams, I can't read backwards, 270 calories, 70 grams of fat, and then it says 2 sugar. So, people immediately think, oh, only 2 sugar, so, we're good. But in reality, there's 27 carb. Okay, 27 carb, and when you combine that with 17 fat, even on the macro level, we're getting into an area here where things are hyperpalatable, okay? Which means they're going to taste a lot better because it's going to amplify the reward response from both of these good tasting macronutrients. So they'll mislead you right away with 2 sugar, when in reality, 27 of those carbs are going to show up as glucose in your bloodstream anyways. So that's the macros. We're still on the macro level. We haven't even scratched the surface here. Okay, so macro-wise, a lot of people, especially those pursuing fitness in a maintainable way, will say, okay, I'll just have 1 serving of these, and I'll be only at, 270 calories. Easy, right? So that's like 20 chips. I don't know about you, but I can never stop having these. That's why I made my dieting choices the way I use them. But, so, I'm not going to get into the types of fats in here yet, and everything related to the inflammation that can be caused by that, but I'm going to get into the non-nutritional ingredients because this is the bulk and probably the most important part of this video, because a lot of people will say the whole calorie and macro and all that matters is protein and calorie intake, but whatever is in these non-nutritional ingredients, okay, whatever is in the side of the big label that you're looking out for is going to influence the food dramatically. So the big thing is MSG, or if MSG is hidden, okay? I'm sure you probably heard of MSG. This might be nothing new to you, but I'm going to elaborate here. So monosodium glutamate is MSG. It's an excitatory neurotoxin, and it basically tricks you into thinking that food tastes better than it does. It makes it addictive, and that's why back in the day when Pringles or chips or whatever Lay's brand came out, and they said you can only bet you can't only have one, it's because they had discovered MSG. And they're like, wow, people literally cannot have one. And then he's like, that'd be a great marketing slogan there. So anyways, so that's some history on MSG. But oftentimes MSG is actually hidden through other terms. Spice extractives, yeast extracts could contain MSG. Spice extracts, they could all contain MSG, but here's the thing. You're only required on a food label to put MSG if it's over 75% MSG. So basically, if there's even small amounts of MSG, which will still make you addicted to a food and basically cause you to not only want to consume more of this, but it makes it so that your brain can't get as much satisfaction from other foods. So really, if you have just a serving of these a night, right, or a serving of any food containing MSG at some point in the day, you will artificially have higher hunger levels throughout the rest of your diet, assuming you're having this MSG containing food on a regular basis. So that's the practical layout of how MSG will affect you. But beyond that, it's going to make it much more unbearable. Okay, that's the gist of what I'm aiming at here. Okay, so as I said, there's even times where MSG isn't listed. So if you see MSG listed on a label, that means it's of a higher concentration than really you'd want at all. But it's worse than having it be hidden amongst the label. So that's one thing to watch out for. So if you see monosodium glutamate, because they're not just going to write MSG because that's how everybody knows it, right? That's what you have to be aware of. Of course, there's other problems in here too. You have lots of vegetable oils. These are very high omega-6 inflammatory oils. And when we're looking at like 6 grams of omega-6 and half a gram of omega-3, that's only for 20 chips. How many? Actually, I'm going to think about this now. If there are 3 servings in here, basically, right? So 60 chips. You're taking in essentially 18 grams of omega-6, which is massive, especially compared to the omega-3 at half a gram. So essentially, for those of you who don't know, omega-6 is your inflammatory fat. Most of the omega-6s are, like 90% of them will lead to inflammatory compounds, and omega-3 is the anti-inflammatory fat. So realistically, nobody has, with a standard American diet, nobody's getting optimal omega-3 ratios. In fact, we're getting tons of omega-6. So it's going to cause more inflammation, and they'll write monounsaturated or something because there are technically monounsaturated sources of the oils they're using, which are often referred to as heart healthy. But in reality, it's going to be these vegetable oils like sunflower oil, canola oil, corn oil, which are honestly more close to chemicals in their structure than they're close to food. Doesn't mean they should be cooking these things in butter, but it means that cooking anything in a hydrogenated oil is going to cause problems. And number one one-way ticket to heart disease is these hydrogenated oils. You can look this up. You don't have to take my word for it. But wait, there's more. So even on top of this, now we have the hyperpallatability of the food. We have the artificial additives that are going to make you crave the food more and get less satisfaction from other foods and make you hungrier artificially. And also, they'll mess with you on a huge level mentally and physically. So, there's that. Then you have high ratio of inflammatory fats. And then they'll try to mask it with, there's only 2 sugars, right? There's ways that they're misleading you already. And the calorie intake is not even really the worst part of this, because realistically, if you were to overeat 500 calories of a food that isn't trash like this, don't even know why this is in my house. It's actually, I wonder when the expiration of this thing is. Basically, even the calorie side of the equation isn't the worst part here. It's all about everything separate from the calories. It's about the hyperpalatability, the artificial ingredients, the artificial oils, and that is going to be a much bigger driver of all the other health ailments like diabetes, heart disease, all that other stuff, which I'm not going to get into. But even the fats and the sugar part of equation, this should never fit your macros, is the point. This should never fit your macros. And what you could do to avoid these things down the line is always vet the non-nutritional ingredients part of the label. And, you know, if you're somebody who does want to include carbs in your plan, or you're doing a fat loss cut of some way, you could either cut them out completely or be very precise with the chips you're buying. Easy, right? Get natural chips from, I'm not a big chip guy, but if you can find some that are obviously organic and not baked in a bunch of vegetable oils and also don't contain additives, that would be a much smarter decision. Literally, the nighttime snacking routine is something that everybody has a hard time getting rid of. And if you can, even just the least thing you could do would be still snack at night, but get it from stuff that isn't going to inflame you and make you hungrier all the time. That's one good step. So, this video has not just been only MSG, it has been things to avoid in food. Macros are not the only thing that matter, because on a practical level, even though you could still hit your macros with this, it will be unbearable. It will be very difficult. And if somebody had laced your potato chips with heroin, it would be just as problematic as from an addiction standpoint, right? So that's that. And actually, little side note too, one of the better ways to detoxify your body of this, well, is by doing the approach which I prefer myself, which is the low carb approach, the ketogenic approach. And oftentimes there's even been studies on how certain ketone bodies can reduce glutamate damage in the brain. So that is, again, directly attributed from things like these potato chips, but certain ketone bodies can reduce that. And if you're interested, if you're somebody who truly feels like you've had a ton of MSG containing foods, perhaps that's the best way to go about it and just go cold turkey with it. But even the practical takeaway is, even if you're doing a macro-based diet, whatever it is, vet your food, be careful, and be precise. Thank you. My name is Anthony Romano. Peace.